Video games mainly stick to the genre they're known for. Devil May Cry as an action game, Call of Duty as a first-person shooter, Far Cry as open world bullshit, you know, the usual. Although there are tons of series that switch genres either in their mainline entries or their spin-offs, so let's talk about it. Also, quick disclaimer, I am recovering from being sick, so if my voice sounds weird, bear with me. Borderlands is mainly known for its first-person looter shooter gameplay, and for its mainline entries, it mostly hit the mark in my opinion. Although around 5 years before the release of Borderlands 3, Telltale Games would work with the original developers, Gearbox Software, to release Tales from the Borderlands. This will be a drastic change from the mainline games, going from a looter shooter to an episodic choice-based game. You would think it wouldn't be too good, but honestly, in my opinion, this game is one of the best in the Borderlands series. The story, characters, and writing are honestly really damn good and super compelling, especially for a Borderlands game. Which is honestly super important since it is a Telltale game and it's more so an interactive movie with the gameplay just being dialogue choices for the most part. And while the choices don't change too much about the story since it is canon and has to align with the rest of the series lore, it is still fun to see the different interactions and events that can happen. I'd say this is a pretty successful genre switch for the series. Now, there is also a follow-up known as New Tales from the Borderlands, but I'm not talking about that shit. That shit is ass. Moving on, we have Final Fantasy. Now, Final Fantasy had covered tons of genres from turn-based RPGs, MMOs, action RPGs, and even something like Final Fantasy 13 with its real-time turn-based approach. I don't know, man, that game's gameplay was weird. Regardless though, today we'll be talking about Final Fantasy 7. Now, FF7 is an absolute classic of a game, and while the graphics are obviously dated, the story and gameplay still holds up to this day and is honestly timeless in my opinion. With mechanics such as the limit break, materia, and ATB systems, it gave the game something that was both innovative and influential. But what if you translated all that into an action RPG? Well, that's where the Final Fantasy 7 remakes come in. Now, say what you want about the story of the remake since it's more of a retelling but at the same time a sequel to the original, it's fucked up. But you gotta admit, the gameplay for both Remake and Rebirth is heat. Both games managed to take everything about what made the original's gameplay so unique and translate it greatly to the action RPG gameplay. For example, not only is there real-time combat, but you can still perform certain skills via the ATB mechanic by simply selecting the skill you want while simultaneously slowing down the gameplay. Rebirth improves the existing gameplay while also expanding the open world section of the game that the original established, for better or for worse depending on who you ask. But while the switch to an action game was pretty drastic for Final Fantasy 7, it wouldn't be all too unfamiliar for the next series we're going to talk about. The God of War series is an interesting case. All of the mainline games are action games, but the original Greek games are more so of a hack and slash style of gameplay. Which, if you go back to those games now, they still hold up way better than you might think, especially God of War 3. But we would see a shift in the gameplay once we get to the Norse games, God of War 2018 and God of War Ragnarok. Both of the modern titles ditched the hack and slash gameplay for a more action-adventure approach with RPG elements. It features that third-person over-the-shoulder camera that definitely haven't been done before, and gameplay elements such as manually locking on enemies, assists from Atreus, and bringing back features from older games such as the quick-time events and being able to wield multiple weapons. And while the Greek God of War games are more linear, the modern Norse games are definitely more open area in terms of areas to explore and collectibles to find. Personally, I like both eras of God of War, but I can definitely see why people prefer one or the other. In terms of spin-offs though, we did have God of War Sons of Sparta that came out earlier this year. This is more so of a Metroidvania style of game, and despite me having yet to finish it, from the good amount that I played, it's honestly not too bad. There's also other spin-offs during the Greek era that kept the hack and slash gameplay from the console entries, which definitely isn't a bad thing, but it's nothing too drastic, you know? But I do know someone that can mention some games that made a pretty drastic shift in terms of genre switch-ups.
You know, when we look at The Legend of Zelda, the franchise has always been defined by a very specific blueprint. You explore a vast world, you tackle puzzle-filled dungeons, and you find a unique item like the hookshot, and then you use it to defeat a boss. It's a great formula that these games have been reutilizing for the past 40 years. But back during the Wii U generation, Nintendo decided to throw this out the window, and created something called Hyrule Warriors. Essentially, they decided to ditch everything about Zelda besides the sword fighting aspects. The game was co-developed by Koei Tecmo Games, and felt quite similar to the Dynasty Warriors series. To be fair, I've only played Age of Calamity and Age of Imprisonment, but they are definitely fun times. But towards the end of my playthroughs, I kinda just felt a little bored. I don't know, the gameplay just got kinda repetitive over time. But with the first two entries being non-canon, they were somewhat irrelevant to Zelda lore. However, Age of Imprisonment is 100% canon, and shares an entirely new perspective on TOTK's story. You play as all the characters 10,000 years ago trying to hold off Ganondorf. After finishing the game, it definitely made me appreciate the story of Tears like way more. The gameplay may not be anything that special, but it definitely had its moments. I actually used to find enjoyment in going to literally all the missions when I was like 10 levels above them. It's kinda just a game for turning your brain off and just watching things blow up. I feel that since they went down the canon route with the latest entry, it made the game feel far more important. In fact, I have a great idea for a future entry. You all know we're getting an Ocarina of Time remake. What if we get a Hyrule Warriors spin-off that takes place during the Hyrule Civil War? It could give us a very in-depth explanation on what's going on with all the crazy torture devices, specifically in the bottom of the Kakariko village well. Something like that would be very beneficial for Zelda lore. This small spin-off series is definitely an important factor to the Zelda series, so I'd love to see them utilize it to explain more of the timeline. But anyways, Age of Imprisonment felt like such a necessity. I mean, in TOTK we didn't know crap about any of the ancient sages, so I really enjoy learning more about them. I honestly hope we get DLC for it soon, since I just enjoyed the story that much. I would love to learn more about the backstories of all the characters from 10,000 years ago. So in conclusion, Hyrule Warriors acts as a great spin-off. Anyway, huge thanks to Chase for inviting me. I'm Gamez44 over on YouTube if you'd like to check me out. Peace out.
Overall, video games... Wait. What the hell? What the fuck is going on? Welcome to the Megaton News Network. Megaton. Now, while Persona is a spin-off of the Megami Tensei franchise, it does have spin-offs of its own that completely switches genre. Persona 4 Arena and Persona 4 Arena Ultimax were developed by Arc System Works and act as fighting game sequels to Persona 4. And while the game is fairly beginner-friendly, it's still tons of fun and has some pretty good depth to its mechanics, such as the game translating many of Persona's elements into fighting game forms, such as status ailments and all-out attacks. The roster is small as well, but that comes with the fact that each character feels completely unique. So no character ever feels the same unless you're playing as a shadow variant of a character, which is slightly different, but mostly still the same. Moving on to another sequel though is Persona 5 Strikers. This acts as a sequel to, Persona 5, and is a hack and slash Dynasty Warrior style of game, which sounds cool as hell on its own, but it also integrates a lot of elements from mainline Persona games such as ambushes, establishing bonds, turn-based mechanics, etc. This game, in my opinion, is definitely the best Persona spin-off slash sequel we've gotten so far, so make sure to check it out. Oh yeah, there's also the dancing games and the Q games and, that's for another day though. I'm out. What the fuck? Anyway. There are a ton of examples of games that switch their genre. Some great and others pretty ass, but there's no harm in trying new things. Which is why you should not only watch my video on why you should switch to PC gaming, but you should also subscribe to Gamez, who lended some great stuff for the video. And Megaton News Network, who just came up out of nowhere. Damn, I wonder who that nigga is.